Thursdays. I think I was frozen for a second there. It's time for Thought Shifting Thursdays. Today we're talking about freedom through boundaries, creating freedom through personal boundaries. So, in my sense, and as a life coach and working with people, there has never been a time, and I would say that this is increasing more and more as time goes by, for a need for personal boundaries. And so, not only, I mean, the obvious place is within relationships, creating healthy boundaries that way, but also healthy boundaries around how much information that we allow into our lives, how much time we spend on social media, um, how much we allow people um, to divert us from our intentions, from our purpose, from what we want to accomplish, our long-term visions. So all of these are elements around personal boundaries. So I just want to put that out to you and maybe give you some space for a moment to just think about what areas in your life would can more freedom be arrived at by creating healthy boundaries. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe there's something that you've been wanting to say in a relationship that you haven't been willing to say. And by saying it, it will create some resolution. Maybe there is, I just hear from more and more people, I'm just spending so much time on my phone, right? And it's keeping me from doing the important things that I want to accomplish in my life. So, a personal boundary around how much time spent on social media. If you're in that category, what would it be like to simply say, I'm not going to spend more than whatever it might be, half an hour, 1 hour a day on social media? Um, what if, it doesn't happen to me very often, but every now and then I'll go to YouTube for something and God, that's a rabbit hole, right? It's just one thing leads to another and it can just go you can just go, you start off looking at doing some research for something. And then I see a George Carlin, video, and I'll go to that. And then there's um, Robin Williams on. So it's not very often that I allow myself, I'll create boundaries around that. It's not very often, and it's not very often that I even allow myself the time to dive into um, such it's joyful. So there's nothing wrong with it, especially if we're spending too much time working. Then that could be a wonderful what's the word? Divergence. um, so uh, really about deciding, what's the healthy balance for my life. So let's see, what other areas? When I come up with these topics, I don't really plan them out. I just kind of talk from the top of my head and see what comes out. And I don't have a whole lot to say about this, to be completely honest with you. It's really up to each one of us to decide what our healthy boundaries are. So why don't we take it in a meditation and see what comes out with that? So let's close our eyes, take a nice deep healing breath. Healthy personal boundaries. Let's just look at different areas in life. Start with a relationship and see if there's one or more relationships where life gets better as a result of creating a healthy boundary. Give you a moment to just reflect on this. If you want to open your eyes and put something in a chat that's coming up for you, feel free to do that. Sometimes it helps people to ground it by writing it or typing it. Now imagine what your life will be like in this specific relationship or relationships by setting this healthy boundary. How will you feel? What changes might occur from creating this healthy boundary? How about boundaries around personal time? Take a moment, just review your life and see how much time you're spending on things that you know somewhere in the back of your mind or in your heart. It would be better for me. It would be healthier for me. I'd have more freedom if I limited the amount of time spent in these specific areas. Could be social media. Could be games on my phone. Could be conversations. I have a client that just gets, who's a life coach and ends up giving her time away by helping people who she gets engaged with, but that aren't willing to pay her. So she doesn't have as much time for doing her life work. So do you have people who engage you in conversation by phone, by Zoom, by in person, that are taking away from important things, for things that will bring long-term joy and freedom in your life? Sometimes boundaries, healthy boundaries, mean saying goodbye to certain people that are, energy vampires, or just that are not serving you in your life anymore. When I do classes, inevitably, someone or more than one person in the class will say, if by applying these principles that we're learning in this class, realizing I can't keep hanging around some of the people I've been hanging around. And then what happens is we go further and further down a path of self-growth, path of spiritual growth, is we end up our outer environment shifts. People we hang out with shift. And sometimes the new people that want to come into your life, there's not space for that until you say goodbye to some people who are no longer bringing value to your life as you shift, as you grow. Is there someone in your life it's time to either say goodbye to or limit your time with? How about boundaries around your own physical well-being and emotional well-being? So physical well-being, boundaries around the types of fuel that you put in your body. Rather than looking at it, I need a diet to lose weight. Rather than trying to lose something, what is it I'm moving toward? What's the greater freedom that will come from healthy eating, from physical fitness, from taking, if I'm not doing physical exercise, taking a walk every day, getting out in nature, boundary around that will create more freedom, more peace of mind. Came up in the class we did the other night, that this exercise I shared before around simply looking up more. And it came out in the class that, when we're outside, we just naturally look up more. So boundaries around emotional well-being. What kind of emotional toxins or disturbances do you allow in your life that you could create a healthy boundary around? So realizing that as we do this meditation, there's maybe a lot of writing down that you want to do and creating some action steps around this. So once we're through, I encourage you to do that. But take a moment to just imagine your life having created even boundaries that perhaps you haven't even identified yet, but creating all the healthy boundaries that will lead you to a life of greater freedom. Imagine your life 1 month from now having created those boundaries. And now imagine your life 6 months from now, having created all the healthy boundaries that are right for you. How much freedom, how much more freedom and joy are you experiencing? A year from now, having created all the necessary healthy boundaries, appropriate healthy boundaries, how much freedom, joy, love, what do your finances look like? What does your mission in life look like a year from now, having created all the personal boundaries that are appropriate? 5 years from now, what does your life look and feel like, having consistently created healthy boundaries? Just really immerse yourself in this greater level of freedom, joy, fulfillment of purpose, spaciousness, and bring all that energy back now into this present moment. Phrase that became so helpful to me, that came to me years ago, is living from the energy of the completed vision. And that can actually help then in moving forward to create these healthy boundaries. So finally, I just want to touch on joy. Last week we talked about joy, and that's what inspired me to do this talk this week on personal boundaries. We can work on it from the outside in and from the inside out. Creating healthy boundaries brings more joy. The more joy I feel inside, the more I am inspired to create healthy boundaries. So let's just immerse yourself in the feeling of joy right now. And if you were a person who was living and playing at a high level of joy, what kind of personal boundaries would you be setting easily and effortlessly in your life? So I'll leave you with that question and invite you to continue to dwell on this, to create some action steps around healthy boundaries, and I'm going to guarantee you that life is going to get easier, more fulfilling, and more enriching, and more joyful. All right, my friends, that's it for today, and we'll see you next Thursday at noon Pacific time for Thought Shifting Thursdays. Love you all, and have a great rest of your week and a phenomenal weekend. All right, my friends, take care.